The Sligo Show is produced by Pixel Productions and hosted by Brendan Tierney. If you need video for your business or live event or would like to appear on the show, send us a message today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Sligo Show with myself, Brendan Tierney. We're here again in the Baymount room, which is in the business suite here in the Radisson in Sligo. So really want to thank the guys there for their amazing, lovely facilities. And if one thing about having a lovely meeting here, but the views out are well worth, if you're looking for a meeting space with a nice place to look out during your busy meeting, it's well worth looking at. I'm joined by a guest who actually, when we started the Sligo Show, I'd asked Tommy at the time, and I think Tommy Higgins from Ross's Point man now, born and bred Sligo man, Sligo Rovers chairman, among other things, but probably best known, or the cool tagline is the man who brought Ticketmaster to Ireland. So Tommy, you're very, very welcome to the Sligo Show, and thanks for coming. And I remember the time when we did ask, he said, I'm after doing a load of big interviews there was some promo thing. He said, no, we'll just hold her a while. So I'm really, really chuffed to get you on at last. So you're very welcome.
Okay, thank you.
So going back to, as I said, the tagline that a lot of people know you, is the man who brought Ticketmaster to Ireland. Like growing up in Sligo Town was born?
Yep, John Street, born in John Street.
And there was no Ticketmaster involved then, or no dreams of Ticketmaster those days?
There was dance halls.
Dance halls. So you were in a band?
There was no tickets, I've been in the, I suppose, the entertainment business since I was 14.
Okay.
And you drifted into that. Then I was playing music for 5 years, full time out of Dublin. Came back to Sligo, needed something to do. Then I opened a record shop, and then started from there. So I was in the entertainment business. I was in the blood. At 16 years of age, I was in Summerhill College. I did a bad intercert.
Okay.
I wasn't going to go forward anymore.
So did you finish then? Did you finish
out? I flunked school after that. Then.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're in the band.
I got a job. I came out of a school band, and then got the first job I got paid for. I was 14 years of age, up in Kellavin and Ballymote, and got.
What were you doing?
Playing accordion, and we got.
Oh, it was a gig, like.
Yeah, it was a real gig.
Yeah, so that was your instrument, so accordion.
Yeah, started off with that. Yeah, school band. You start off with a tin whistle, then went on to an accordion, etc. I don't know, we pulled a band together. We were asked to play at some dance in a parochial hall up outside of Ballymote. Started off, and I remember got paid that night was something like 3 months pocket money, and so I was
you were on the pig's back.
Gone.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as going back. So that summer then, it was a great summer. Like, it was a fabulous time to grow up to being a teenager, because you had the Beatles, you had Pele, you had George Best, you had Muhammad Ali, you had so much stuff happening as a young people of influence, and the explosion of pop music and all that was hidden. It was a wonderful time to be about and growing up.
What was Sligo like back in those days? I mean, I'm a blow-in and I love Sligo now and all it is, and I know you're a big fan of Sligo, but back then, was it a great buzz, or was it quiet for town?
I had a great childhood and I had never any issues. It was lovely. Then at 16 I got a job in the Sligo Champion. I was there for 5 years, served my time there for 5 years.
What was it? Was it in journalism as such, or was it in
a role? I was in the liner typesetter. Compositor was the word. It's all done on computers now, But it was a great. When you went in that time as an apprentice, you were put into the poster department. But when I was in the poster department, all the people who owned halls and dance halls and everything come in to get their posters done. So I didn't know it at the time. That was the first time I knew about networking. So you were talking to these people, and then you'd catch a gig off them.
Catch a gig, yeah. So you had a folk band, and like, was it folk or rock?
It was a mixture of everything. You started off playing Cayley music and waltzes and stuff. Then you drifted on to playing dance music. Then pop stuff came into it.
Okay.
So it just progressed.
Do you still play now at all?
No, I don't know. I threw it away. I had an accordion, threw it away. I'm sorry, might pick it up again.
Sure, you never know. When life gets quieter again.
So
sorry, the band that was on time, and you were in the Sligo Champion, so you were getting the gigs.
So I served my time for 5 years. So at night time, I was playing. We played all over the west of Ireland, and I suppose the biggest thing, you wanted to get back in time for work. So you might get in at 7 o'clock in the morning, get a couple of hours sleep. I lived only a couple of 100 yards from the Sligo Champion office, which was in Wine Street at the time.
Of course. So then you said you moved to Dublin, and that was all music.
That was music. Got a job. Got asked to play in a band in a full-time professional band. I was there for 5 years, and then that drifted away. And I was just an average musician. I wasn't a really great musician, but I was the band leader. And somewhere along the line, I had some sort of I won't say talent is the word for it, but some sort of a graw for organising things. So I got the guys up on stage, collected the money, made sure the gigs were all taking place.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the line, it developed into
A bit
a
of a
leadership.
as such,
Don't know how it happened because there was no history in the family or anything like that. Yeah.
But just that's the way it became. And then from then on, so the music finished then in Dublin, was it?
The music finished. I came back to Sligo. I
Straight
had nothing. I had no skills. I didn't have an education or anything like that because, as I say, I left at school at 16. So just started a record shop. But got a loan from the bank and just started it up.
Just to rewind a bit there, so just get up one morning and go, I'm going to open a record. Like, were you always in them yourself? Were you?
No, but see, you were in the music business.
Yeah.
You were in the entertainment business, and you were always buying records. And when I was in Dublin, you were buying records in.
And Sligo didn't really have a main shop doing that.
There was a couple of them, but I had seen the ones all around, and I said it could do a really good one, and you created the vibe for it, and it was very successful. As a living, you were never going to get rich out of it, but you made a good living out of it. So
And so you said you went in the bank, got the money, and that got you rolling. And where was that shop then?
It's where Conway's news agency is in the
Star
Tesco
Music,
Arcade. Star Records was at the time. Yeah.
Yes, I bought many CD. I was a DJ for years, and when I was young in college in Sligo, bought tons of different CDs.
There was no CDs at the time. It started off with vinyl.
Your first day,
it was just vinyl. Vinyl and 8-track cassettes, then CDs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can see that's coming back now. The records are coming back, and even CDs. I was in a shop yesterday where CDs are back.
When I moved house 20 years ago and I threw out all my vinyl records. They'll never be needed again. All the best stuff I had, and now they're all back and they're paying 25 and 30 euros for them.
And it's insane. Like
put them into a skip. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as I said, you played in the music industry. You sold tickets in the music industry.
That's how I got into the ticketing business because the promoters used to come round with a book of tickets. Yeah. No computers back in the 70s. Just a simple
envelope, or here's these, and sell them if you can.
And you got some for half a dozen concerts a year.
Okay.
So there was no real big industry in it. At that time, there was only the handful. There was the odd. I think there was Tin Lizzy in Dalymount Park and Bob Marley in Dalymount Park. They were the outdoors. Very, very few. Okay. Simon and Garfunkel did in '83 or something. So it was really into the '80s that it really taken out. But then I got to know the promoters. And that's how I got into the ticketing. Yeah.
Okay, so then it advanced. So from just selling those, what was the next step then that you kind of took it on yourself? You took over a space in Dublin.
Well, what it was that we're having dinner one night with two promoters. One of a friend of mine in Jamaica was the concert promoter out of Belfast, and we over a mad dinner one night said we'll open a big record shop because I've been in the States. I had seen some of the big ones. Tower Records was a big record store. And there wasn't what we call a major record store like a HMV store and things. So what ended up happening, there were 4 of us involved in it and had no idea what we're doing. But we got it up and running by contacting HMV. We found that we didn't have the wherewithal to do it ourselves. And we're busy, and I had a shop in Sligo and I had 2 in Galway.
Oh, right, so you moved down to Galway as well?
Yeah, one in Shop Street and one up in the Square. And so we decided then to get a partner. We got in HMV and they became the partners, and they ran the store. And inside both of the stores there was a space. And we said, this would be a good place to sell tickets, and that's how the ticketing thing started off. It was a fluke in one way.
But it was a great bit of ingenuity to go, this has the potential for this.
But something, you do things and you don't realise there was no plan, never was.
Yeah. There was no 5-year business plan.
And I think the whole industry of the entertainment is kind of run on gut.
Promoters
will tell you the same thing. I was never a promoter. Promoters will tell you the same thing. They run on their gut. There's an artist I think will do well.
Yeah, and hopefully
they'll win big and sometimes they'll lose big. But it's their gut. But there was another thing that happened there in the late '80s. Is where they deregulated the radio and the whole lot of new radio stations came.
Oh yes, okay.
And then the radio stations, it was a huge boost for the ticketing business because they wanted to promote shows. It was great for the commercial radio. You had RT, Radio 1 and I think there was Gaelic or whatever. It was very little. Then Radio 2 came out. That was the first commercial one. Yeah. Such, yeah. Then you had the whole lot of other ones that came out.
Was it the pirate stations? Was that around that?
That was before the pirate, but the pirate weren't legitimate. And so the radio stations, then all you could hear non-stop, wall to wall, tickets at HMV, tickets at HMV,
Right.
tickets at HMV.
Now, were ye paying for ads on that, or were they?
No,
they love to talk about it.
But you see, the promoter would give them tickets to promote. So it was a great way for a promoter. You do it all the time. They're still doing it today.
No, of
give
course,
a number of free tickets, run competitions, etc. But what was happening, then it got, people started ringing us up looking to get tickets, other shops around the country. There was no nationwide distribution system.
Mad.
None at the time. So, and that was going into the late 80s, into 1990 or so, or afterwards. And the first person to bring a computerized system into Ireland was The Point. Okay. And it was Harry did a deal with the Apollo Leisure in the UK, and they brought a computer into Ireland, and they brought it, the hooked a line up to us in HMV in Grafton Street.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But
and
it didn't
phone
work.
Lines.
A line, and we were able to get a computer in.
Yes.
But it didn't work.
Lovely.
Yeah, and there's always a tipping point in something in a business. And I remember one day going out, and there was a queue of people all up Grafton Street around to Chatham Street, and they were queuing up for the show called Cats had come to. That was the first time it had come. The first big West End show to come to Ireland was Cats, and all the people were going. I had to go out, and the computer had broken down and slowed down, etc. And I remember going out to the queue, and the people, you were appeasing them and telling them, look, it'll be up and around. And what I could hear was all the different accents. And where people had come from Carlow and Dundalk and everything, and I said, look, if all these people were prepared to come 50 to 100 miles to come up and buy tickets, we could get the tickets to them. There's a market out there that hasn't been tapped. Yeah. And it was that I always remember that, the people's accents and given out to me in different accents.
You got remembered.
Yeah. And then the following week he gave up again. So we rang up the Point, and we rang up the people that were running the computer, and it was BT out of the UK was doing it. And we got to some guy, and the guy says, it was just a Saturday, which is the busiest day of the year. Yeah. The guy says, I'm mowing the lawn. He said, well, I says, this thing is done for, we can't. So we went away and got our own computer system, and I put it into 24 shops around the country, and there was a market there. We knew all of a sudden you were now bringing tickets for all the different shows to, if you were living in Letterkenny, you couldn't buy a ticket. You had to send your sister or somebody living in Dublin or whatever. So there was an untapped market out there. There was, and that's really, and it took off after that. And then the second big. What had just happened a couple of years before that, we put the first computerized system in, and we had the 24 outlets, and we had the first 24-hour call centre, which and there's a great hook to say you can book your tickets. There's only 2 people during the night.
It was still telling the truth.
But it worked. It worked. So most other call centres closed at 6 o'clock in the evening. Excuse me. So, and then Harry Crosby brought The Point. He created this. And all of a sudden, you had now what we call a market, where the promoters had a big venue where they could bring bigger artists, and it made them worth their while. The previous biggest venue was the RDS.
Take drinks. Okay. And I was going to say, like a man, you left school at 14. Where did you go to the day that you go, I'm going to put 24? How did you get the 24 computers? Or did you obviously, I presume you sourced
I was aware of Ticketmaster. Everybody was aware. They had opened up in the States. And actually, there's a brilliant podcast out at present with the guy who started Ticketmaster.
Okay.
I sent it on to you. It's absolutely brilliant. It's 2.5 hours. Okay. But I didn't realise I was doing the same thing that he was doing, was on a much smaller scale. But he didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what I was doing either at the time. But you were running on your gut, but it was alive. The whole country was alive. The fact that new artists, big artists, could come now to The Point because you had the capacity. Previous capacity was 5,000. Now you had 8,500, 9,000 in The Point, which meant it was viable for promoters to take in big artists.
And I heard a story where you went over for a Ticketmaster meeting and you thought it wasn't going to go well, but there was a great Irish accident.
What happened then, Ticketmaster had an operation in London, and they came looking around Dublin, and I said, this is dangerous, because we would never have been able to compete with them because they had all the money and resources in the world. They were flying out in the United States at that time. And I got hold of them. They were over, and somebody from, I think it was the Gaiety, told me there were people from Ticketmaster. I went up and saw them and invited them down for a cup of coffee and had a word with them. and said, I said, look, I have all the promoters tied up, which was kind of half a lie, but it worked.
Good Irishism.
Yeah, and look, I said, we might do a joint venture. We said, well, we don't have the authority to do that, but I get you a meeting in Los Angeles. So I went out to Los Angeles and had a chat with them. And I always remember it was on the 14th floor, and look, and there was the Hollywood sign in the distance, come back, and I was by myself, and there was a pile of executives, and we were sort of looking at one another. And the meeting wasn't going great, and the guy popped his head around the corner, and he said, I was introduced to him from Ireland, and I says, by the way, he says, I have an Irish passport, but I've never been to Ireland. And the whole room lit up. Started laughing.
It was like a guardian angel.
Yeah, and you know, the atmosphere changed. And then I think it was the chief operating officer just said, look, he says, maybe go over and have a look at Ireland, see what it's like, and get your passport stamped. And I do honestly believe that if he hadn't popped his head around the corner,
the whole empire would never have...
It may not have happened, you know. Yeah. And that night we went out to dinner. We had, after a couple of hours, we had a deal done. And they had a deal done with the company up in San Francisco. They bought half the company, and they were buying out the other half after 5 years. And they said, would that work for you? And it sounded good to me. He said, would you, the part of the year you'd have to stay on and run the company.
Okay.
And but I had a fabulous partner there with Eamon O'Connor, who died very young at only 51. And without him, it wouldn't have happened either. He was a brilliant guy, you know. So he was the front of house, and I was sort of the back of the house.
Okay. And you had a connection with Riverdance as well.
Yeah, Riverdance. We were just. I mean, the first 7 years were horrible. You know, I mean, I don't know how to.
This is when you had Ticketmaster.
When starting off before Ticketmaster.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
And I come to it, you know, the first number of years we ran off big dip, but had the belief that it would work. You could see the signs of it. But I don't know, mortgage, the house, wife, kids, everything. You know, it was quite a difficult time. But you could see that things were getting better. You know, things were getting better as it was moving on, and we stuck with it. And then there's an opportunity, Riverdance. They were about to start off Riverdance, and they came into us to look at. It's a long story. I won't go into the whole lot.
Had they done Eurovision at this point?
They had done the Eurovision, but they were going to put up the main show.
Tour, yeah.
And they were down on the point, and the numbers couldn't work. But we got, and they started looking. They said, look, we would need the producers might already. They would need investors. And at that stage, we had just come to break even. Okay. Right after years of losses, you know, that was 95, late 94, I think it opened 95. And we just decided then to, I rang the promoter, who was a friend of mine, who was promoting the show, and I said, look, if you're looking for investors, if this show takes place, we'll make some money. If it doesn't take place, we won't make money, and it's worth a punt. I said, because the commission we would make for doing the thing. So we said we would go in, and RT went in, Paul McGuinness from U2 went in, and forget who else, somebody else. Anyway, it started to make sense. So we put the tickets on sale. It nearly didn't go on sale because they were holding 4 weeks. And the other promoters they said, look, we need the venue. So there was a very tense period, and I remember that afternoon in the office. I remember it very well. It was quite tense, and decided to go ahead. And there was no funding in place or whatever, but 2 or 3 days later, put the tickets on sale. And by the following Tuesday, we had got our investment back. It was just went wildfire. So the punt, and it was
that one of the biggest gambles you think you've ever took business-wise, or?
Well, it wasn't a gamble to a degree that once it took place, it was going to go on for a month. I did the numbers. We would have broke even. And if it didn't take place, we wouldn't have made any money. But it took off, and it was extraordinary. Then we had the greatest. It was a 5-year investment, and it was just extraordinary. There's part of the company. I was part personal, but it's part of the company. Okay. And but then again, it went international. And at one stage, then there were 3 different troops running around the world. Yeah.
So you had a 5-year connection with that, and then it ended, or do you always keep it?
It ended then. Yeah.
Okay, but it wasn't a bad investment.
Oh, it was fun. But what had happened then, after a couple of years after the profits started coming into the company. So from a period of 7 years of losing money, the company started making very good money. Yeah. And then that's when Ticketmaster came in. So we had the profits from Riverdance that showed us in good light, and we were able to get a good deal from Ticketmaster.
Yeah, so mad web of
But
stories.
on the other hand, I would say if I hadn't done the deal with Ticketmaster, would have wiped us out, because they would have come in and
cleaned
us all out.
So
Yeah.
just those.
It's like a big supermarket coming into a town to a small grocery shop that clean them out.
But you had some small shops don't have the ingenuity maybe to go, how do I play this? Whereas you obviously
It was desperation.
Yeah, well, no, but some people get desperate, they don't know how to figure it out, you know. What would you say was your most stressful situation? I'm not trying to look for personal private, you know, was there a moment you were like, oh my God, I'm in real trouble?
Funny enough, I never got stressed.
I was about to say, you probably don't strike me as someone that actually is very stressed.
And two things you had to, you know, you have to stay, in that business you have to stay calm. I was referee at the same time, you know, and you can't lose your head when you're referee, and you have to stay calm.
Yeah,
you know, so
yeah.
I
do be like that now at a match now to the referee.
I don't. Funny enough, I never stressed. Yeah. And my Eamon that was with me there, we had wonderful fun, and the good days well outnumber the bad days, you know. Yeah. And you know, if you lose your head in that game, you're gone, and you had to stay. You know, you had to stay calm. You see, the ticketing companies were really like service providers. You're in between the artist and the promoter, and they get very stressed, you know, because the promoter's at risk. Huge risk.
Yeah. No, I know the feeling. It is tricky. You're waiting for that moment. Are they buying them or not buying them?
And there was some days then when the computer system wouldn't, you know, I remember the first time when the Eagles reformed the Hell Freezes Over tour when they came. That was '96 or something. You know, and of course there was such a demand. And this computer just sat down in the morning and thing, but we got it sorted out. Promoter would be screaming at you.
Did the public know you? Because nowadays, every time tickets go on sale, they're gone in a minute and everyone gives out about Ticketmaster. But yet, it's like the Ryanair effect. You'll always still use them.
I remember going down Grafton Street one day, but I had an umbrella with their logo on it. People started booing at me.
My God.
And 2 days later, I was up refereeing a match in Finn Park. And they start booing at me then. So I said, I have two bad professions.
Two. I never realised you refereed. I didn't know that at all.
I was on the League of Ireland panel for a good number of years. Refereed.
Okay, well, there you go. Where does it end? I mean, I think we need four interviews with you. Like this never ended, the differences in that.
Yeah, that was just a hobby. I love football, and I don't drink. And I wanted to get involved in something in the sport that didn't involve going to pubs afterwards.
Yeah.
And refereeing was perfect for me, and I just wanted to keep that.
Did you find? I did a referee course there, for example, a year or so ago. I just did it because I was doing a bit of coaching, and I was intrigued to learn a bit more about the rules, intricate rules, and all that. But I don't think I'd actually want to go refereeing. Because I just think it's... but that's what I'm saying. Do you think nowadays is a bit more aggressive?
What you're doing, you're managing people. Yeah. You're managing a small business. We say 40 people between the subs and whatever. So you're managing people with your demeanour and a whistle. You know. So, and it's a thinking man's game. People don't realise, because you're trying to think the next move. Where's the ball going to go? What's the player going? Is he going to foul or is he not going to foul? But I found it afterwards in business, and also that you have to keep calm in those situations as well. Yeah. And so when there used to be screaming matches in that business, but I never rose to the bait in it, you know. And I remember Lord of Mercy was a great promoter and a very good friend of mine, Jamaica. He said, "Higgins, you're no good. I can't get a row going with you."
Yeah. Some people they want to fight, and you're not the person to give it.
Yeah, because it can get very tense and very difficult. But I found it okay.
And obviously you're a massive fan of Sligo. You always wanted to keep coming back. And you used to strategize your big business deals walking on the beach, I heard.
But when I lived, you see, after Ticketmaster, we did the deal with Ticketmaster, and it was what we ended up then. After a couple of years, they asked me would I run the UK business after a year or so, and then they used to bring a guy over from the States, and then he would spend 2 years in London running the UK, and that. So they said they wanted to expand into Europe. They asked me would I run the European business. Okay. Never did an interview in my life. Wow. Never did it.
So what a mad story.
Just had funny enough, that first day with them in Los Angeles on the 14th floor, we had we never had a row, and it was great. And I was told before, I said they'll swamp us and they'll kill us, but I got on very well with them. And there was a few more. It's like serendipity is a great word too.
Yeah, very true. I was going to think of that a lot of this.
As it ended up, then there was a guy called Sean Moriarty was the CEO of Ticketmaster, and it turns out Sean Moriarty's grandfather and Eamon O'Connor, who my number 2 there in Ticketmaster, his grandfather were buried in the same cemetery in Kerry. Wow.
Just that mad Irish connection. Like,
There's a mad Irish
Ireland
connection.
has those connections so many
And
times.
there was more to it. There's a lady from Belfast who went to Australia. Marie, she was called Marie O'Connor, lovely lady, went out to Australia during the Troubles. The whole family moved to Australia. She ended up running Australia, New Zealand. So Sean used to say we had the Irish Mafia. I was running Europe, Marie was running Australia, New Zealand, he was running North America, the whole company. Wow. And it was a bit of a joke, but it worked very well, and we got on
to it. But yeah, you probably say that like.
But it was a I kind of drifted into this business, and I remember when I was down in Barcelona when the CEO ran me, asked me would I run the European business. I talked to Eileen, my wife, and I just might as well. But I had no skills to do it. But if you had man skills, and I always felt the refereeing was always good, managing people and.
Right, so the refereeing was what year did that start compared to where you were in business? Like?
I was at it before the ticketing. Yeah.
Okay, so that's mad. That gave you a life skill.
I was at it 20 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
From junior football and senior football, and then you had to retire at 48 or something like that in the refereeing. Then I came back to the junior stuff and refereed for another 10 years afterwards, yeah.
So you always were home a lot in Sligo, and you always envisaged that you wanted to come back
I lived all the time in Sligo.
Oh, always lived
I never moved, and even when Ticketmaster, when I moved back that time, we stayed here, and I lived here. I lived up at the Green Road first of all, and then we moved out here to Ross's Point. I used to head off maybe 5 o'clock on a Monday morning, come back Friday night. Most of the time, in the summertime, you spent a lot of time away because of the outdoor festivals, and you had to be there. Fela and all those big ones.
Yeah. So you had to be at the events,
the big ones. You have to be there because there's so much involved. I mean, if you look at it nowadays, for a concert at Croke Park, it grosses about $10 million.
Yeah.
That's a huge responsibility for the ticketing company. If something goes wrong,
yeah,
the ticketing company is responsible because the promoters are giving you the tickets to sell.
Yeah. Well, it's cash. Like it's a piece of cash essentially.
It's a piece of cash. Yeah, a piece of paper. And you have to account for it. And as the ticket prices are getting more expensive, the responsibility
is getting bigger and bigger.
I just noticed there the recent Taylor Swift concert. She did 52 shows outdoor stadiums in North America, and I'm estimating the gross between $600 and $700 million in one day was purchased of tickets. It's a frightening number.
Yeah,
and here, it's now $10 million. It's a dollar business. Yeah. $10 million gross, for $10 to $12 million for a Croke Park concert, and that all came out of dance halls. And I was involved the whole way up, the whole way. I had a wonderful time in it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I often think this nowadays. Would you love to see maybe a 2,000 or 3,000 seater venue in the northwest? You know what I mean? That kind of size, because it always bugs me, if there's 10 nights in Croke Park, how much money is sucked out of all of rural Ireland up to Dublin, and it's more expensive to stay there. I've often said I'd love to see a 4,000 or 5,000 venue somewhere, like the Marquee in Cork can do 5, I think.
It can, yeah.
Yeah, so like the Northwest, well, I'm always a harper out about this. Does get forgotten.
That'll become very successful. Well, first of all, it's about numbers.
Yeah, of course.
So if you look at, I don't know, you'd probably have 1 million people within an hour of Cork.
Yeah.
You don't have that here in the Northwest.
No.
And it's about the numbers. And I seen it. I remember at one stage there, Oasis were the biggest band in the world, and they played 2 nights in Cork, but they didn't sell out the second night because you eliminated all the people. It was the distance. So it's about numbers.
Yeah.
So from Dublin, you can see why they're playing Capital in Cap. And every country says the same thing. Because we had. We had an office in the end I was looking after 10 countries, and we had an office in Istanbul, and there was something. Well, they never play Antalya, or they never play here. They only come to Istanbul.
Yeah.
And the same up in Denmark. They only play Copenhagen. They don't play somewhere else.
Okay.
So you have that. And then there's something a limited amount of gigs that a band can play, and they go where the money is. They have to.
I mean, someone said if it's a 20 tour date, they might lose money on a few of those and make it in the last few legs. But they just have to be touring around. Yeah. Who is the most fascinating, or who is the most person you were in awe of that you met over the years?
Never went near the artists.
Okay, never cared less.
No, that's the promoters.
Yeah.
Unless you'll be invited to something, a reception or something afterwards. But and the artists don't want to know about anybody else to clear off.
Yeah. And
some of them are out at the airport before the people have gone out of the point. Gone back to London.
What band would you go and see 20 times now? If it had a gig again, Who would you go see regular? Who's one of your favourites?
Oh, I don't know. My taste. I remember when I was going to the States, I was going about 3 or 4 times a year to to conferences, etc. And I'd stay on a few days going to gigs. And I remember I was in a honky tonk in Texas one Saturday night. And the following Saturday night I was at an opera in Verona, Italy.
So you just
my range is huge.
Too right, yeah.
Wherever is good, Pavarotti was magical when he was. It was just extraordinary. Some of the concerts. He did one up in Stormont one night. And it was cold, and he came out with a parka jacket and a tweed cap on him for the start and started singing opera songs. And then after a while, he warmed up and he was great.
He was great,
yeah. There's so many of them,
so many
But I love music in general.
Yeah,
If
it's good, it's good.
But whatever, as I say, from country to rock to pop, and you got to.
I think you got not to get stuck in one genre. Like you're bound to like a variety.
Yeah.
And just to fast forward on, like now your days, a lot of it is taken up with your chairperson of Sligo Rovers.
Yes.
And was that something you just grew into? Were you a fan, obviously, all the life?
Well, I've been going
to
everybody. Their father brings them at a young age. My father brought me when I was 6, and I've been going to the Rovers, and that only from the time when I was away. But every time I was home, he went to a match, and I loved. Then I was asked to go in as chairman. And it's just then really enjoyed it. So you can pass on the experience that you have.
Yeah.
And I've seen this. We used to do ticketing for football clubs all over Europe. So, and I could see what could be done and what we can do here. And there was neglect in the League of Ireland down through the years. It's changed now. The FEI that's there at present are very, very good.
I was going to say, I've read the famous book of the famous man, but have you said it's now starting to get settled?
And they've been very supportive of Sligo Rovers, I must say.
Okay, because you seem to do everything so well. Seems to be run so right. There seems to be great energy. Sligo Rovers, it seems to be well.
And there's a very good bunch of people.
Yeah.
I'm only a small, small cog on a big wheel. I mean, it takes a village to run that club. Especially with volunteers.
Okay.
So everybody has some sort of skill to do bits and pieces, but it's a full-time job with part-time people.
Yeah. It's insane.
But you do it. Everybody is volunteered, and I think if you have something to give back. I mean, the people of Sligo were very good to me when I was in my business growing up, and then if you can give something back you should do it.
Yeah. What would you say your legacy will be, or what would you like it to be?
I don't want to.
You don't get into that.
No.
What was your proudest thing you've achieved? I suppose so many things.
I don't.
You don't get too bothered. You seem very kind of humble and relaxed.
No, humble is not. I don't know.
Yeah, your brain is probably thinking of the next thing to go on to do. Is there?
No. One thing that I don't say. I never use the word retire.
Yeah.
You don't. I never use the word retire. You can't use that.
Well, you definitely don't seem like you're anyways retired at all.
No.
And what's the next 5 years? So keep tipping on Sligo Rovers, or have you any little projects or hobbies, pastimes?
First of all, you serve 3 years, and then you have to step down. You can go forward again. So I'm just after putting myself forward again for the next. For next season, you do it a year at a time.
Yeah.
Look, you don't know what's around the corner with your health or anything like that. You don't know.
Yeah.
But as long as you have the enthusiasm and you have good health, and thankfully I've been very, very lucky with my health, and it's not that I didn't look after myself. I have an awful sweet tooth, but don't drink, and I think it's done. And then I was able to referee up till I was late 50s.
Okay.
So they kept you mobile and it kept you going, So it was a.
And I know, and I'll finish on this. Like I know you're a huge lover of Sligo town, county, the whole lot. If I gave you €10 million tomorrow, what would you do with Sligo? I'll give it to all Sligo Rovers now.
No, that wouldn't do it.
No, true.
I think it needs some sort of a big attraction to attract people. I'm talking tourist-wise.
Yeah.
It needs more hotels.
Yeah.
Better hotels. And I also remember, when you see it, if you look at the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao was just a really poor industrial town, and they put in this wonderful building into it.
Okay.
And you see, people go to Barcelona now to see the Gaudi and to see
that one thing that everyone will see, even if they're not a fan of it necessarily. I better go to that.
I think it. Now we have incredible scenery. We have incredible. I think you mentioned earlier on. when I come home, I used to do all my thinking out in Ross's Point. You go to, what's your strategy for the following week? You go around to Ross's Point, you go on the beach, and you have Ben Bulbin on one side of you, and when you're coming back, you have Knocknarea, and it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, and I think
it just doesn't get any better.
No, it's amazing, and Hazelwood or all the walks we talked about.
Yes, you have that, but I think there's that's one big attraction that you'll have people, we have to go here, and must go. Yeah. If you look at the Titanic Quarter in Belfast, you know, it's that sort of
thing. I suppose it's hard to pinpoint. You know, okay, Yates is a very obvious calling card, the natural beauty in the trails, but I think it's hard to get what's the actual one.
Yates is a potential superstar.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a poet or anything, but I do look at it. The music is wonderful. Yeah. Okay, so maybe that's not the poetry. That
might be your next project now when the championship is over.
Look, hold on. I'm too long on the tooth now. I've enough. Sligo Rovers has taken up enough of my time, and I'm enjoying it immensely. And there's an enthusiasm about from everybody. You know that. And then you're dependent on the team doing well on the.
Of course. So you still got the love of just being a fan as well.
We never lose that. You know, and then the community aspects. I like the model. You know, there's some club. There's only two of us now. Two clubs in the country that are community based, restaurant, and I like that model. That is community, and you can feel that. You know, you can feel that.
Everyone's a piece of it. You know what I mean?
They do. They feel attached to it. You know, and I do think if we get the development done, we'll double our crowds. And that's the aim, to do that. And I do believe, I've seen it happen in the entertainment business. Anytime anybody, you know, look
makes
at the
it bigger
point,
and better. And
the point. And now, even after Harry's now Live Nation increased it. And it's one of the best venues in the world, not alone.
You know, it is really to be in.
I know
that.
If you look at the capacities and the amount of people going to it, it's a wonderful facility. Yeah. But they had the vision to do it up and, you know, to make it an amphitheatre type of a venue.
Yeah, it really is
and Vicar Street and the Borgosh Theatre. You know, so if you do it, I know it's a cliche. If you build it, they will come.
So if we do it in Sligo, they'll come. We'll get there somewhere. Tommy, an absolute pleasure to hear your story. As I said, I think we could do a three-parter, which if we really wanted to dig down into
enough.
It. Thank you very much for your time, and best of luck at all your future adventures, and thanks for all you do for Sligo and Sligo Rovers, and thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
So that was Tommy Higgins. Well, now he's the chairman of Sligo Rovers, but as you've heard there, a multitude of things throughout his career. Fascinating story. I just want to say thank you again to Brian here behind the cameras, who does all the shooting and editing, and thanks again to the Radisson here for letting us use their lovely Baymount room here in the business suite. So if you are looking for a business and conference space, be sure to check them out. We'll see you all next time. So if you liked what you just seen, don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel here. We've loads of great interviews from a load of really interesting people over the series. And if you're on social media, which I'm sure loads of you are, we are on Instagram and Facebook, so give us a follow there.